Hi, I'm Luke Gilfillan. Welcome to the Lounge with Luke Gilfillan. Alright, we have a couple things to go over today. First off, Illinois marijuana legalization is now going to J.B. Pritzker's desk. One of his major things that he campaigned on, as many of you know, if you remember from the 2018 election cycle, was the biggest thing actually, was marijuana legalization. And he's expected to sign this bill, which would legalize marijuana for people over 21 and legalize possession of it for people over 21. So we'll go over the bill, and then we'll read a quick summary of the bill, and then we have another interview to go over, except the person decided that he wanted to remain anonymous. They are part of the Student Liberation Group. It's a group at OPRF. I'm not sure how many students are in it. There are some students who are really devoted into it, and then there are some students who just get behind the movement. Either way, we'll go over that and answer some questions about the movement, and maybe, we'll just go over that. So, this is House Bill 1438. This is the Illinois State House. This is the findings. In the interest of allowing law enforcement to focus on violent and property crimes, generating revenue for education, substance abuse prevention and treatment, freeing public resources to invest in communities and other public purposes, and individual freedom, the General Assembly finds and declares that the use of cannabis should be legal for persons 20 years of age or older and should be taxed in a manner similar to alcohol. In the interest of health and public safety of the residents of Illinois, the General Assembly further finds and declares that cannabis shall be regulated in a manner similar to alcohol, so that persons will have to show proof of ID before purchasing cannabis. Selling, distributing, or transferring cannabis to minors and persons under 21 years of age shall remain illegal. Driving under the influence of cannabis shall remain illegal. Legitimate tax-paying business people and not criminal actors will conduct sales of cannabis. Cannabis sold in the state will be tested, labeled, and subject to additional regulation to ensure that purchases are informed and protected, and purchasers will be informed of any known health risks associated with the use of cannabis, as concluded in evidence-based peer-reviewed research. The General Assembly further finds and declares that it is necessary to ensure consistency and fairness in the application of this act throughout the state, and that, therefore, this matters addressed in the state are, except as specified in this act, matters of statewide concern. So these are all applied throughout the state. The General Assembly further finds and declares that this act shall not diminish the state's duties and commitment to seriously ill patients registered under the Compassionate Use of Medical Cannabis Pilot Program Act, nor alter the protections granted to them. The General Assembly supports and encourages labor neutrality in the cannabis industry, and further finds that and declares that employee workplace safety shall not be diminished, and employer workplace policies shall be interpreted broadly to protect employee safety. Adult use this is the terms of the act, definitions. Adult use cultivation center license means a license issued by the Department of Agriculture that permits a person to act as a cultivation center under this act, and any administrative rule made in furtherance of this act. Adult use distribution organization license means a license issued by the Department of Financial and Professional Regulation that permits a person to act as a dispensing organization under this act, and any administrative rule made in furtherance of this act. So you're going to need a license to distribute and cultivate, which at the moment is only in possession of the current medical marijuana dispensaries in Illinois. They will be given permission to also sell recreational marijuana. Cannabis concentrate means a product derived from cannabis that is produced by extracting cannabinoids from the plant through use of the propylene glycerin, butter, olive oil, or any typical cooking fats, water, ice or dry ice, or butane, propane, CO2, ethanol, or isopropanol. The use of any other solvent is expressly prohibited unless and until it is approved by the Department of Agriculture. So, products derived from cannabis, some of them are prohibited unless the Department of Agriculture decides to permit them. So that's all we have for the bill. It goes on to talk about, like, who's going to be prioritized for getting these licenses. It's going to be the lower income communities or those that are more affected by the war on drugs. So if you live in the south or southwest side of Chicago and you're interested in being able to produce and distribute marijuana for recreational or medical use, you will be a priority in getting those licenses. So, and then here's a quick summary of the bill. There's some questions and answers that I wasn't able to find because it's a 610-page bill, so I really went over the key, like, goals of the thing. Illinois residents age 21 or over may possess up to 30 grams or about 1 ounce of flour, roughly as much as an adult can hold in cupped hands. So if you're wondering how much you can have on you for whatever reason, hopefully none of my listeners, at least the high school ones, are interested in that. 5 grams of cannabis concentrate or 200 well, you'll be prosecuted either way if you're under 21. Or 500 milligrams of THC, the chemical that gets used is high, in a cannabis-infused product such as gummies or other candies, tinctures, and lotions. Adult visitors to the state may possess up to 15 grams of marijuana. In any public place, like on the street or in the park, on school grounds, except for medical users, this is where it's prohibited. In any motor vehicle in a correctional facility near someone under 21, while driving a boat or flying a plane, or by a school bus flyer, police, fire, or corrections officer while on duty, it's okay to use it at his home as long as outsiders cannot see it. The governor will pardon past convictions for possessions up to 30 grams, with the attorney general going to court to expunge or delete public records of a conviction or arrest. For possession up to 50 to 500 grams, an individual or a state's attorney may petition the court to vacate and expunge the conviction, but prosecutors may object with the judge to make the decision. That is all that we have for that. We also recorded, or we didn't really record one, we sent him the questions and he answered them. This person is from the Student Liberation Group, so we'll just go over the interview. So first off, for those who don't know, what are the goals of the Student Liberation Movement? Then he answered, the Student Liberation Group advocates for the right of students to create a school that properly serves them, as in all schools should. Simply put, we aim to give students more choice in how their school is run. What actions is your group taking to achieve these goals? The Student Liberation Group is in the process of creating a board of students that will serve as a challenge to the Board of Education's authority. We're attempting to spread awareness of the issues inherent in OPRF's administrative structure. On our website, you can find several articles explaining these problems. Their website is studentliberationgroup.org. If you want to go to that, I'll put it in the description. They have a lot of policies on there, which are quite interesting. Their big thing is creating a board of students and doing away with the school board. That is probably the most controversial thing on there, and he talks about that more. The idea is that the school currently has no incentive. They might do it out of, like, their good heart, but administrationally, they have no incentive to look out for the students' needs. It's more the teachers and maybe the parents to keep them happy, but there's no really incentive to look out for the students' needs. So they're trying to do away with the Board of Education, which is the policy-making structure for our school, and create a Board of Students, which is a school board that will meet once a month unless other things occur, and students will be able to show up, and they will be able to vote if they provide an ID at the school board meeting, and that will be the policy-making structure of the thing. So a lot of you may be like, oh, that's kind of crazy, you can't have a bunch of 14-year-olds deciding school policy, but he does give some examples of where that would not apply. Are there any schools that you work with? Or wait, no, we'll just go down to the thing. The Student Liberation Movement also calls for the end of board education and for the student board to replace the current board as the administrative body. I'm sure to most people that sounds like an idea that will lead to a ruleless school. Will there be any restrictions in place to stop students from creating an environment that students deem best for them but not their education? For example, terminating teachers who give harsher tests. He said, yes, there are restrictions to the Board of Students' powers, as stated in the first policy. The board may not limit or infringe upon the rights of the faculty unless protecting the rights of the students. This does not protect the jobs of the teachers who merely give difficult tests, but it would also allow the Board of Students to terminate teachers who are deemed a danger to the safety of any student. So they do have the power to terminate teachers, which I think is a bit too far. Additionally, this policy specifies that the Board of Students will be responsible for creating an environment in which all students can succeed in every aspect of their lives, including achieving academic success. Because all community members will be allowed to participate in each meeting to create a constructive dialogue between the members of the board and community, any disagreement in the interpretation of this policy, such as what constitutes protecting the rights of the students, will be resolved impartially. So that's the answer to that. And then, so what are the actions that the Student Liberation Group is taking to achieve these goals? The Student Liberation Group is in the process of creating a board of students that will serve as a challenge to the Board of Education's authority. We are also attempting to spread awareness of the issues inherent in OPRF's administrative structure. On our website, you can find several articles explaining these problems. Are there any other schools that you work with, or is this purely an Oak Park-led movement? As of now, there are no other schools involved, but the Student Liberation Group hopes to spread the message as far as possible over time. We believe that the rights for which we advocate should be universal. In what ways do you think OPRF administration has failed the students? So there's some examples they use. The ways in which the administration has failed the students are clearest in the Board of Education's failure to make student-centered decisions and unwillingness to invoke the students in the making of the most important decisions, such as the addition of advisory periods and administrative restructure. So for those of you who don't know, there's going to be a major change next year with the advisory periods. There's going to be 15 minutes each day, which happens, I'm not sure exactly which period, I believe fourth period, in which we will have our counselors will come in and talk to us for 15 minutes each day, and that will allow for teachers to have 15-minute breaks to grade tests or eat or do whatever they want with those 15 minutes. Are there any major obstacles the group has encountered? The most difficult obstacle has been spreading the word of the movement. Second to that has been helping students understand why the flaws in the administration's decision-making process are a serious issue and a threat to the students. How did you or other members of the group become involved? Most current members and supporters of the Student Liberation Group got involved after hearing about the group by word of mouth. Their contributors include the Student Liberation Group's website and its articles, ideas, and suggestions, constructive debate, and attempts to spread knowledge of the movement further. Has your group made any major differences in daily life at OPRF? As of now, the Student Liberation Group has not made any major difference in daily life for the students. As a relatively new movement, the Board of Education is yet to recognize us. The establishment of the Board of Students later this year should help to propel the movement forward. So, the movement calls for the creation of a student board which will vote on changes in monthly meetings. Will this board be made up of student representatives? No, the Board of Students will be made up of all students who decide to attend meetings. The Student Liberation Group feels that giving every student a vote is the only way to ensure that the results of the poll reflect the opinions of every student. Do you think your movement is something that most students will get behind, at least from the students you have met? In general, the students I've talked to are in tentative support of the movement. I believe more students will join as a movement as a challenging authority becomes more normalized. Gaining the trust of the students is a priority of the Student Liberation Group. We want to hear about every student's perspective so we can make informed decisions. Next year, there will be many changes in how the school is run, and notably the absence of a principal and hiring of an equity director. How does your group plan to react to these changes? Because the Board of Education is OPRF's primary decision maker, the absence of a principal will have minimal impact on the Student Liberation Group. Concerning the equity director, the school has been unclear about the abilities and responsibilities of the new position and has been dodged questions related to the equity director's role in student advocacy. So its effect on the movement is currently unknown. Our hope is that the new director becomes a great resource for our group and other student advocacy groups. Is there anything else you would like to add? Yes, if anyone is interested in learning more about the Student Liberation Group, feel free to visit our site, studentliberation.org. Consider leaving feedback or taking a survey while you're here. Thanks for listening and have a great summer. So the website is studentliberation.org. I'll put it in the description. So thank you guys so much for listening. There will be no interview tomorrow. This will be the interview, or there will be no interview that should have been out today. I apologize for putting this thing out today, but the Illinois marijuana legalization was big news for the week, and I wanted it to be confirmed that it was actually going to J.B. Pritzker's desk. So, hope you all are having a great summer. I might try and put out, maybe later this week, a 2017 to 2018 year in review, going over all the news from the OPRF hate crimes, which sort of launched this channel. That was what the first episode was about, to the OK symbol in the yearbook. So thank you guys so much for listening, and goodbye. Thanks so much for listening. The Lounge with Luke Gilfillan comes out every Saturday and Sunday. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you would be interested in getting notified every time a video comes out, hit the gray bell right next to the subscribe button. Credits, sources, and errors are in the description. If you find an error that I missed, please put it in the comments section. If you are interested in donating to my channel, because I bought recording equipment, which kind of costed a lot, my Patreon, which is a donation site, is in the description. If you have any feedback, put it in the comments section. Toodaloo.